Learn how to build a better sign and print shop from a few crusty sign guys who've made more mistakes than they care to admit. Conversations and advice on pricing, sales, marketing, workflow, growth, and more. You're listening to the Better Sign Shop Podcast with your hosts, Peter Kourounis, Mike O'Reilly, and Bryant Gillespie.
All right, guys, welcome back to the next episode of the Better Sign Shop Podcast. Here, as always, with the Sign Shop Yoda, Peter Kourounis. Pete, nice to have you back.
Pleasure to be back.
It's always awesome to be here.
It feels like home.
It does. It's been too long.
It has.
As you guys have reminded me several times. Hey, when are you guys doing another podcast? Well, we're doing it right now. You'll hear it probably 2 weeks later from today. But super excited for today. We've got a guest that I'm going to be honest, man. I get pitched a lot through my full-time job at Directus and just in my Better Sign Shop email, as I'm sure you do as well, Peter, because we're not shy about putting our emails out there and we ask people to write in. But this guest came through us through an outbound email that he sent me, and it piqued my interest, and then I sent back this one-line reply, and I was like, okay.
Wait. What was the one-line reply?
I was going to tell you. So the one-line reply I sent back to him was like, okay, show me what you got. And what came back is one of my favorite techniques that, like, I've used this for years now, and you've probably seen some of the videos that I do, but Loom is a screen recording platform. You can install it as an app on your phone, on your desktop, or as a browser extension, and it just allows you to quickly record your screen. And I used to use it a lot for going through proposals as we were pitching somebody. Hey, I know we can't do this live, but I'm going to walk you through this whole thing right now on this video, and the close rate is amazing. But he used my own playbook against me, and I couldn't help but respect the game. So,
Aww. You have a love for this guy.
I like this guy a lot.
You like his approach.
I like the approach just because what is it, game recognized game?
Yep.
Thing?
Game recognizes game.
All right. So the topic that we're going to be talking about is one that's near and dear to our hearts. Obviously, I think the first episode of the podcast, or one of the first ones, was marketing and about not turning off the faucet. And so today we're going to cover Google Ads and pay-per-click and online advertising for your sign shop. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it going to help you increase sales? How to do it properly? Before the other guest jumps in, what's your take on online advertising, Pete?
So this is very poetic. It's very kismet for me. That's probably a better word. I'm really in a good place right now where I'm talking a lot more about marketing, and with the advancements of AI and AI bots, chat bots, and things like that. Marketing has never been better. But here's my take on it today. The day and the age of dropping a ton of money into one thing is over. So I'm really eager to hear what Peter here has to say, what our guest here has to say, and that's, how do you cast a wide net? How do you drop additional lines in the sand to see what's working, what's not? How do you grab customers from different audiences? How do you fabricate different campaign messages based off of what a customer's need might be? And how do you compete with AI that can do this in a couple of clicks? So I have a couple of good questions that I think I'm going to throw. I have a couple of questions I'm going to throw at this guy that I think maybe a good 12-6 curveball I'm going to throw to him to see what he's got to say. But the reality is that if you're a sign shop today and you're living in the Google world, you're living in the Meta world, and you're living in pay-per-click or social media ads that just drive brand awareness, you're probably not getting the highest level of execution anymore. 5 years ago, you probably were. Today, you're probably not. A lot of my sign shop clients that I consult with on a weekly basis, we talk a lot more about different forms of advertising. Mm-hmm. So I'll give our listeners a little bit of insight to this. So to me, there's brand awareness advertising. Yeah. There's, hey, we're a sign shop. Hey, these are the things that we do. And that's going to generate enough brand recognition that when a need does arrive, that they might think of your brand a little bit more than maybe, say, go to the Google side of things.
Yeah.
So there's that. Then there's lead generation campaigns. And then you have to pick which, there's various different types of shops out there. So are you advertising sign service? Are you advertising channel letters, storefront signage? Or are you like one of my other clients I just got off talking to today, and he's more of a wide format interior decor, doesn't fabricate anything. Everything that comes out of his shop is coming off of a flatbed machine. Yep. And those types of businesses have a little bit of a leg up, in my opinion, on, say, the fabrication shops of the world, because they're in their lane. I can talk about 10 different things versus if I'm a fab shop, I have maybe 30 to 40 different types of offerings I can give you. And I said types of offerings. So marketing becomes a little bit more expensive as a fab shop than maybe more as a vinyl shop.
Right.
And then on top of that, it's retargeting. So when you do get somebody that wrote you, emailed you, fell on your website, how are you following them around and retargeting what it was that they asked for, or what landing page they landed on your website, so that you can continue to speak to them even subconsciously when they're not emailing you, or they're continuing to see your content in places that you need it to be present in.
Yeah, there's that old stat. There's somebody has to see your brand 7 to 11 times.
Yeah, 7 times. I'm pretty sure at this point that is the rule of thumb is no longer 7.
It's like 70.
Well, it's up there. It's not maybe not 70, but it's up there. It's more than 7 at this point. And I would probably say that these are some of the along the lines of some of the things that we're going to be talking about here with our guest.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's bring the guy in. All right. So with that, let's bring on our guest, Mr. Peter Guba from Profit Mill. And Peter, I'll let you introduce yourself in just a moment, but I was just complimenting Peter on your approach and why we're having this conversation. You used my old loom trick against me, and ultimately it led to this conversation. But I'm super excited for all the sign shop owners out there. Give us a quick intro to you, and then Pete and I will dive into some of your backstory and a million questions that we've got for you.
So I'm going to be Peter, and then Peter's going to be Pete.
Yeah, it's Peter, Pete.
All right.
I'm sure it's going to get confusing.
Peter G, Peter K. All right, sounds good.
Peter K. Yeah, I might just call it. I'll just call Pete Sign Shop Yoda or Yoda.
Okay, I love it. All right, that sounds great to me. A bit about me. I'm an owner of a paid ads agency, and where I got my start and my experience was working at Google for 8 years, working with 1,000 different accounts. And that's where I got to know Google Ads really well, and really working with a lot of smaller companies as well that were launching paid ads and essentially trying to get growth going. And then eventually I just decided to go out on my own. And besides Google Ads, I do every other ad type that's out there as well. Although I think Google Ads is the most profitable and the most fruitful for a lot of advertisers. So I think we'll end up talking about Google Ads the most today. But yeah, it slowly went from a full-time employee to a freelancer and now to an agency owner. Since I have a full-time employee now, and really just kind of scaling this micro agency. But we can unwrap all of that. That's a very high level intro.
Yeah. So I'm going to speak for Mr. Sign Shop Yoda here, probably, and say the first question is, if you're working at Google, which is, by all accounts, especially in Sign Shop land, a plush job, why quit? Why leave Google?
Yeah.
To do your own thing.
I mean, I was there for a long time, right? So this wasn't like I went there for like a year or two and then I just kind of left. And certainly it's got so many benefits. I mean, it sounds so simple, but the food that they provide for breakfast and lunch is just like a nice perk. It's just a matter of life that you don't think about. It's
I'm here thinking that he was going to say he quit because of the food at Google. That's what I thought he was about to say. Like the breakfast and lunch at Google's cafeteria sucked.
No, that's the perk that kind of keeps you in there, right? Like they just give you all these perks, like
that's funny.
The gym membership and the food and all that sort of stuff that keeps you there. And I was there for a long time. Eventually, I just didn't feel like I was learning that much. And I will say I worked with hundreds of agencies while I was there as well as like a counterpart to the client. And 90% of the time, I felt that the agency was not doing the right thing for the client, either because they, like the way that they were incentivized, whether they were charged hourly or whatever it may be, it felt like they would just say, yeah, we're not going to do that. Thank you for that suggestion. We're not going to do that for the client. And I wish I could have just gone to the client directly and tell them, like, you're kind of getting screwed over. Like you should, maybe work with someone else because they're really not doing right by you. Or I would just see that they just didn't know what they were doing. And I was just thinking, like, there's all these people making so much money and I'm the one that's telling them what to do and then they don't want to do it. Like, what's the purpose here? Why am I telling people to do something that I know makes a ton of sense for this business that we're working with? And then it just doesn't happen. So I thought that the opportunity was really great on the outside. And I think over time, you just get a little jaded. Like you just go, okay, this is cool, but in like an episode of Office Space sometimes over here, just people coming in here being like, hey, have you checked out that new tool? Have you logged this TPS report type of thing?
What was like your day to day there? I'm just curious about that. Like,
yeah,
if I worked at Google, what would my day to day be aside from the amazing food?
Yeah, that's right. I feel like, so I will say that like half the company are engineers and half the company are account managers. And I feel like maybe if you're an engineer, you get to work on some really cool stuff, right? Like building new tools, working on all these cool AI things that are going on inside Google. If you're an account manager, like you're kind of dedicated to a certain number of accounts, they're going to work with you anyway, more or less, because there's really not much of an alternative to Google search. And so sometimes you don't really feel like you drive a ton of impact. I'd just be going like meeting to meeting for a client. And then, they'll have some questions and I'll look up internally what we need to do about that. But the other thing that probably Googlers would complain about the most, and that also frustrated me, is a lot of internal meetings. And I think this is maybe just a corporate culture in general, but a lot of internal meetings, somebody somewhere needs to get their performance review boosted. So they come up with some side project or initiative that really doesn't drive much impact. And this is like anybody who joins Google, like fresh out of school or just even new to the company, like first 2 years, you're just going to be an eager beaver. You'd be like, yes, this is great. This is so cool. Right. I'm learning so much. Like after you've been there like 5, 7, 8 years, you almost like it'd be like the same thing amongst these Googlers who've been there for a while. We're like, why are we doing this? Why am I wasting my time? I just need to go on a client call. Like this could have been an email is like what you start to say to yourself so many times. And yeah, you do a lot of that.
I got it. Okay. All right. So
I'm painting a very negative picture. Again, I'm a person that left, but I think there's a lot of people who enjoy their time.
Yeah, it was account manager there. What was life like before Google? Like, did you get into Google like right out of school or?
No, I worked at three different startups actually in sales. So really doing like outbound sales. I worked for software companies. One was a marketing company. Two were in the environmental health and safety inspection space, which is a big space. And I really enjoyed it. Sales is hard, but I really, really enjoy it. I think I like this sort of like getting paid for what you do, for what you earn. You know, like I'd rather be held to a high standard, but then be paid for my effort than be in a spot where I feel like people don't really pay you for the value that you're actually generating. So it was good. I mean, like Google is so stable. It is very hard to get fired. Like really, really hard to get fired. You know, like even if you're an underperformer, they'll give you like a pass in the first 6 months. And then if you don't perform for another 6 months, then you'll get put on a performance improvement plan. They have to like officially do that. And then you get like another 3 to 6 months to like prove that you can get out of that performance and like out of the lack of performance, right? Before, so it might be a year before you get fired if you're like not delivering or more. So you got a lot of time to turn it around.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that you said here that I would like to follow up on. Okay.
Tell me.
You seemed very vocal about Google is the place to be when it comes to online search. What would you say to those that might say, well, I use ChatGPT now for my search, and that's what I trust most of all?
Yeah, great question. And it's coming up every day.
Right out of the gate.
No,
that was a center cut fastball question. That is not even my 12 to 6 yet.
Yeah, this feels like one of those like gotcha questions from like the Parks and Rec show. You know, they're like, gotcha.
I'll start you off with an easy one. You know, with the advancements of AI, you know, some people use Claude, some people use Grok, some people are using some sort of AI LM, if you will. Yeah. But for those that are getting into it, they usually resort to ChatGPT and at least the free version. So, you know, like, hey, what are the top 10 companies near me in this space? Like, it's capable of giving you an answer, and a very intelligent answer. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, so based on everything that I've seen up to this conversation, any account that I will check, and we can look into Google Analytics, which analyzes all the traffic and tells you where all your traffic is coming to your website. ChatGPT is less than 5% for any website right now. So slowly increasing. People are getting like visits from ChatGPT. I've even seen some customers get sales from ChatGPT. This is something that actually every sign shop, could do. If you just install Google Analytics on your website, you could start to get this type of information. And so it's good to monitor. So right now, it's not a big deal. It's cool, but it's really not a big deal. I will also say that the way ChatGPT works is it predicts the words that it's going to use, right? Like it's not necessarily completely factual all the time. At least we there's a lot of people that still say, okay, this was the ChatGPT answer, but I want to go to the real website to validate that this is real. So ChatGPT plays a big part in like that exploration and kind of getting an idea and discoverability of things. I think people also use ChatGPT in ways that they didn't use Google before, like being creative and thinking about ideas. Like you might be marketing vibing as a sign shop, just thinking like, what are some cool campaigns I could do as a sign shop, right? Like this doesn't need to be factual. It just needs to give you some inspiration, some ideas. But then what we still see is people still go back to Google to really validate and verify. So they'll go sign shops near me. And I would say especially the thing where Google still absolutely dominates because they've been building this monopoly position for a long time, is like the Google Maps listings. If you're still going to go on Google Maps and check sign shops near me, ChatGPT doesn't do that. Could they do that someday? Maybe. But for the factual info, people still go to Google.
Nice. Okay. I got as an additional follow up. So I love your background. I think you came off very intellectual, and thank you for the background on Google and its cafeteria food. But I want to dive into your business, okay? Why or what do you do, or why do you do what you do that differentiates yourself from, say, any other marketing agency that can do pay-per-click or LSA ads or SEO and things of that nature?
Yeah. Well, one thing is I specialize on paid ads specifically, and again, Google is really the main one. I find it really tough. So I think about this all the time with other agencies is how do you become really good at all those other functions? Like I could spend a lifetime researching everything there is to know about paid ads and how to make them profitable and how to make them work. And I feel like I don't know enough. And I have spent a decade working on it. My fear for my own agency and then even for other ones is like jack of all trades, master of none. Is that like the package? Like you get the benefit of working with an agency that does like 5 different things, but are they really good at every single thing that they do? And some maybe are, but I think that
or
that
are
part's
they
really
just
tough.
subcontracting half of that stuff out as well?
It's really hard to determine that. Almost on every marketing agency's website, they're referencing we're a Google verified partner, or we won these awards year over year over year, and it's. Does Google give everybody those awards? That's what I always ask myself.
Yeah.
Like if it's marketer of the year, 10 companies can't have that same badge on their website in my mind. But that's my opinion of the space. It's littered with a lot of people that make a lot of promises. When it comes to paid ads, there's a lot of different strategies out there, different beliefs, different go-to-market strategies. And, I'm thinking of one of my sign shop clients in particular who was with a very large firm out in Colorado, and they overpromised very competitive pricing, have an amazing team of over 600 staff members, content creators, copywriters, website designers, whatever. And it's like, hey, we're going to take a modest, I don't know what I forget what it was, so don't hold me to this, but like 20% of your ad spend is going to come to us to manage your campaigns. Yeah. Okay, cool. So after a year, you start looking at, hey, how's that working out for you? I asked, and it's like, Pete, I think I got like 5 leads from them all year, or something like that. So then they move to like a little boutique style digital marketer, okay? And they have a bit more of a personal touch, a bit more of like a intimate touch, if you will. Like there's a lot of familiarity with their business and their family and what their beliefs are, right? And they have better results. And they have better results with a smaller company because maybe there's a little bit more attention, maybe there's a little bit more eyeballs on the results of the campaign, perhaps. So which one of those is your firm?
Well, I'm below the boutique firm because I got one full-time employee.
Oh, wow.
I would call it a micro agency. I was a freelancer until very recently. So I was really working solo. But there are certain tasks that are very repetitive where from what I offer, the strategy and everything else, it's a lot more valuable to the business, where some of the things like, hey, I need you to spend 2 hours looking through keywords is something that I think I could have really, hired help for, so that we could work with more companies. And so that's the stage that I'm at right now. But the stories that you shared, I hear this all the time. These companies go through like 3-4 agencies before they land on another one or land on one that they like.
Yeah, I mean, that leads us into like the meat of this, right? Is like every owner out there is probably like dabbled in this in Google Ads or like Facebook ads, and is either paid an agency and got screwed over, as Pete has mentioned, or tried it themselves and just obliterated, like lit $1,000 of ad spend on fire with nothing to show for it. Like the big question in the room is, when does it make sense to invest in Google Ads and maybe like what ads are. I know Google has like 35 different ad products, I'm sure, right? So
okay. I have a couple of different thoughts on this. One thing, why is it hard to hire somebody in Google Ads? I think it's just like, why is it hard to hire somebody's going to do your tiles for your bathroom? Like, how are you going to know that they did a good job until they start doing your tiles, or if you're getting a plumber, start fixing your plumbing? It's hard to know, right? Like, unless they really bring you to a client's house and say like, hey, I fixed their plumbing, talk to them, or like go check out their bathroom and see what it looks like. It's kind of hard to hire somebody in the trades and know exactly if they're going to do a good job. And this is why like referrals are such a big deal in that business, and I think are also a really big deal in working with any sort of consultant or professional. So I think that's one thing that's really hard. And then what makes it even harder with Google Ads is you'll start working with someone, and Google Ads does take time to optimize and get results and all that. And that's all, very real. And so you start working with someone and you're like, I guess we gotta wait. It's not like they put like the first few set of tiles and you see the first day that, holy smokes, nothing's lined up. I'm speaking from personal experience from hiring somebody I ended up letting go. I feel like I've got scars from that. But so there's a bit of like a lag. And it's also like the third piece of this that's kind of tough is like you can look at the tiles when you hire somebody and say, that looks good. But when the Google Ads is running, you're like, I don't know if that's good or not. Like, are the results going to come? Did this person set it up correctly? Is this just like, hey, it's not going to work for us? Or is this person doesn't know what they're talking about and they're full of it, right? So you can't like instinctually know that it's been set up well or not. So because of all these issues, all these factors that come together, you get a lot of snake oil salesmen that make it really tough. And that's why a lot of people like to just nowadays go on LinkedIn and say, hey, do you know somebody for this that you trust that did a good job for you? Or ask people in the industry or ask their community. And that, works really well.
That's 100% how I find like almost all tools or services now is like I leverage my network, because if somebody else is like, if Yoda here is getting good results with something like a tool, for instance, like the odds are it's going to work well for me. But like the switching costs or like the pain of like, I've got to go investigate this thing and figure out if it's actually going to be good or not is like, it's painful, especially as a dad of 3 girls working a full-time gig.
What's the other thing that's kind of crazy about paid ads too, like why people just light their money on fire, is there's things that you can do with marketing or for your business that they're going to pay off in the long run too. Like then you're not going to just get the benefit now, you're going to get benefits in the future, right? So if you buy a new machine that's more efficient, you're going to use that machine for a really long time. It's going to pay off. If you get a new sign for your store, pun intended, I guess. If you get a new sign for your store, that sign is going to be there for a decade. That's going to pay off. It's going to pay dividends. If you do paid ads and you run Google search and it shows up for a second, somebody clicks on it, goes to your website, never buys anything, you don't really get much from that. This is not like a ton of brand awareness that you're building up that, later on, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I clicked on that Google search ad 5 years ago. I'm going to come and, buy a sign from them. So there's not as much of that going on. And so if you don't make it work right away, you're just losing money. You're not going to get anything out of that. Where again, let's say a website, you design a nice website, you're going to have that website for a long time. People will come to it, want to talk to you.
Makes sense.
So that's another thing that makes it difficult.
It's like one of the things that Pete and I were talking about before you jumped on was like the differences of like brand awareness advertising of like, hey, like we're here, like whenever you need signage, we're your people, like we got you.
Yeah.
Versus like intent based or like advertising to actually generate leads. And I guess like just to reiterate that question of like, in your opinion, when does it make sense for a sign shop owner? Let's say they're, I don't know, doing $500,000 a year, or they're doing $1 million a year. When does it make sense for them to invest in Google Ads? Like, what are the the prerequisites or like what goes into that?
Yeah, so I think you can absolutely invest into Google Ads pretty quickly, pretty early on. If you do, it used to be called local campaigns, but there's an ad format where basically, and you've seen it. I could even kind of share my screen. I want to show you what I mean by that because I think people will like to see this.
Yeah, I think there's an option there.
There is an option there, so I think it's cool. This is the ad format right here. Let me share my screen. So I just sign shop in my area. I'm just around Detroit. And you can see that I get these ads right on the sign, on the side over here, right? Like I can see the different sign shops in my area over here. And you could certainly like click into that and say like, okay, maybe I'll go to Fast Signs and you check out the reviews. But you get the ads on the side here usually as well. And that gets you right to the top. Let me see actually if I refresh this. There you go. Gives you a couple of different ones.
Sponsored listings.
The one sponsored listing. And you would see this type of ad if you would go on Google search and you'd search it, you would get the map. And so let's say sign shop near me. So you're going to get this ad right here. Very popular sign shop in my area. Obviously you get Vistaprint. And then oftentimes you get the ads in here as well.
I got it.
Yeah. And these types of ads, these used to be called local campaigns. And they automatically trigger when somebody searches for things like near me, sign shop near me. That ad, relatively easy to set up. Again, maybe if you kind of follow some instructions online and really hands off. You turn it on and it drives people. This is what you're paying for. It drives people to click on this, come here, get your phone number, get the instructions to go to your place. You get some information on clicks, things like that.
So you're gonna run these like formerly local campaigns. Like you're gonna want to make sure your Google profile is optimized because that's all they're seeing.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So it makes it. It's like a very easy way to enter it into it because let's say you didn't put a lot of time into your website. You don't have to go and redo your whole website to kind of, have a nice digital storefront. You can just focus on, hey, let's drive up some reviews. Anytime somebody comes in to pick up a sign, if they like it, just tell your employee that they should ask them if they could write them a review right then and there. Even have an iPad or something right on the desk, right? It's going to be like, hey, are you cool to write a review for us? Like it really helps us out. Start with that.
All right, Peter. I have two important questions here before we get ahead of ourselves. They have to be asked, okay? I'm going to put my sign shop owner hat on, and our sign shop listeners out there who are listening, who will be listening to this podcast, may come to you, may contact you, okay?
Yeah.
But I want to give you a couple of examples here. So what do you say about the strategies on Google from a perspective of I operate in, let me try and think of an area. My office is in South Dallas, okay? And I want to service North Dallas, but I don't have I don't have a location in North Dallas. That might be an hour and a half away from our location, okay? How do you attract business? Or how would you advise a sign shop owner to attract business in your local area, 10, 15, 20 minutes around your office, but also potentially an hour and a half, 2 hours away in maybe other sign shops service areas?
Oh, yeah, this is a good question because it's relevant if you're outside there's a lot of folks that listen to this that are outside of like a metro area, just maybe by like 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour or so.
Yeah. I just thought of a kind of an interesting marketing campaign. But what I will say is sometimes I advise on this is the paid ads, Google ads strategy. I'm telling them like, here's the feature we need to use and here's the product that we need to use in Google ads. And I feel sometimes, and maybe 50% of the time, and maybe even 80% of the time, I'm advising marketing strategy. Like, first question for my sign shop owner would be, have you successfully ever sold signs to anyone in North Dallas? If you're in South Dallas, is this a thing? Like, do people drive that far to you for a good reason? Do you have a unique proposition why they would buy from you versus someone else? Like, maybe that could be incredible amount of reviews that people are like, I have the best reputation in all of Dallas, not just in South Dallas, but North Dallas too. So I think people even in North Dallas, if they want like a reliable sign creation, they should come to me and drive that hour and a half. So I would start with that. If they say, no, we never saw anyone in North Dallas, I'll be like, well, how successful do you think this marketing campaign is going to be? I can't solve like, that big of a problem with Google Ads. I'm not going to overpromise the world. I'm not that type of agency. But here's my marketing campaign idea. Offer a discount if they can prove with their driver's license that they live in North Dallas, and make it really lucrative for them to drive down to South Dallas. And just assume that it's a bit of a marketing investment, that you're trying to build up this groundswell of customers in North Dallas, and that, yeah, your profit margin is going to be a bit lower for those types of customers, but you're going to develop North Dallas instead of just your South Dallas, customer base, and build your reputation there, and get people to organically eventually come down to South Dallas as well. That's my marketing idea.
Thank you for that. That's very helpful. Very helpful. Now I'm going to second that. I told you I had a second question.
Yeah. Please.
I am a sign shop owner that's doing $500,000-$600,000 a year in revenue, and I've had a bad taste of experience working with my current or old marketing provider. Pay-per-click ads didn't work for me. It's nothing seems to have worked. What is your strategy for that type of business owner that can at least generate a few leads per month? And by a few, I mean, let's just say a half a dozen.
Yeah.
Can I caveat this by saying, like, outside of this, we probably don't do much marketing at all, and we're very reliant on inbound. Like, we're going to work on whatever comes through the door.
Yeah. So, have you seen those memes of that, like, it's like a bell curve, and it shows you what people with like little knowledge do, what people in the middle do, and what people with like the most advanced knowledge of any given topic do. And what the bell curve always does, it just shows that the people with the smallest amount of knowledge and the most amount of knowledge, the smartest people in the world, both suggest the same thing. Have you seen those? Are you pulling it up right now, Brian?
Yeah, I am. Like, I'll let me see if I could share it, just because I can. I use this one on a daily basis. It's not letting me share the screen. I didn't enable that. Hang on. There we go. Oh, all right. So this is like the meme generator. Yeah. Typically, this is like use Chrome. Yeah. This one's like a browser one, the super nerd one. But
yes.
Yeah. So it's basically like the joke is here in the middle.
Yes. So I think the people who are just starting Google Ads are like, I just want to show up whenever somebody searches for sign shops near me. That's the request, right? And you're like, okay, that's a Google search ad. And then you've got all this complicated stuff in the middle that's like, oh, and you should show up here and on this ad platform. And then this person's going to see this ad, and then they're going to see this ad, and then eventually they're going to come to you with this other complicated marketing. And the most sophisticated person, I think, would also just be like, hey, you want to be profitable? Just do search ads. That's it. So that is my answer for a sign shop. Is that's the only place if you really want to drive like guaranteed leads, because the people who do search, they're in the small minority of people who are ready to buy. Everybody else is maybe a store that could use a sign shop. Maybe it's on their to-do list. They're like, oh yeah, someday I'll get a sign shop. But they're not putting their hand up saying that they want to buy one. So you need to just show up to the people who are putting their hand up saying that they want to buy one, and just do that.
Yeah. All right. So now walk me through, like, what do they need to do well for that to be effective?
Yeah, that's a good point. So let's say we show the ad It's pretty straightforward. It says sign shop in South Dallas, and they searched for a sign shop near them. There's some other stuff to the ad, like you can say why they should kind of talk to you, right? Like, we're the best reviewed sign shop in South Dallas, or we buy one get one free, or finance your sign, whatever. There's all these things that you can kind of use on the ad to sell them come to the site. That works a little bit. They're going to come to the website, and then it is what's on the website that's going to give them the confidence of should they walk in or not, should they reach out to you, give you a call. So I feel that when I work with advertisers, and I know we set up Google Ads in the best way possible. Sometimes we set it up and it just works. People start giving them calls, start booking. And let's say the opposite happened. Let's say we set up the same ad for somebody else and they come to the website. We can show them that somebody searched for a sign shop near them. They clicked on the ad. They went to the website. And I'll say, look, that happened 100 times for you this month. You paid for it. And they went to the website and they didn't give you a call. And they go, what are you doing wrong, Peter? I'll say, I'm not doing anything wrong personally on Google Ads. They're clearly not impressed with what they land on. Right? Like, they don't think that you are going to make good signs or do them fast enough or for good price, or whatever it may be, but something about what you're saying on your website is not giving them that confidence that they should give you a call. And people also have limited time and energy, right? So they do that. They click on that ad. Let's say there's 3 sign shops that pop up. They're going to go to all 3 of them. That's the behavior that they have. And they're going to compare your website against your 2 competitors. And if just one of the competitors has an incredible website, polished, looks really nice, it's like, sounds like this is where people go. It's going to give them a call. They're going to give them a price. Maybe they'll call one other one.
And like, is this data that you guys, like, when you were at Google, like, do you guys just have we've got all this on a dashboard somewhere that you just...
No, this is just like, you asked me this question, or at the beginning you said, like, what makes you different? And if I had to do one word, it'd just be reps. Like, I've seen 1,000 different accounts, 1,000 different businesses, and we can do the exact same strategy. And the company that has a good product, a nice website, like, it just looks like something you would want to do or use. They just do well. And they have this exact same ad strategy as somebody else, right? So it's no different than, like, hey, all these 10 different restaurants sell burgers. Why did these 2 restaurants do really well, and why did these 8 other ones not do well? You could probably pretty much explain it. Be like, great burger for a good price and a great location. Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing with, like, a sign shop. Is like, Google Ads is just amplifying what's already there. If you have a great sign shop, people like using you, and however you're selling it really resonates with people, then Google Ads is just going to put fire on that. If you don't have a great business and the fundamentals are not there, you are going to be burning money because you're just sending people to a place that they don't really want to go to anyway.
Getting off the sign shop near me search term.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone that, like, wants to advertise the actual product that they're selling? Maybe it's banners, or maybe it's channel letters or vehicle wraps. How would you go about advising them in a pay-per-click strategy, or an ad strategy, I should say?
Yeah, so it's a little similar, but it's also a little different. So it's still Google search, but it is what they call the shopping ads. So those are the ads that have the picture, and they're like tiles that show up at the top. And people love those ads. They love to click on them. And if they click on them, they tend to have a pretty big propensity to buy. And so those are a little bit more difficult to set up. A little easier to set up if you have a Shopify website. Shopify kind of has a really nice integration with Google Ads. So you don't even need to go into Google Ads to set that up. You just do it all in Shopify. And that's why Shopify is also really popular. And you might be able to do with some other web platforms as well. But those are the ad types that work well.
And on that level, are you competing, like, directly against, like, Vistaprint or somebody at that point, where, like, the local results are, like, out the window and this is just, like, product based? Or is there, like, something behind the scenes in the algorithm that accounts for that? Or
those shopping ads are always above the text ads. And also Google's pretty smart at knowing when to trigger the shopping ad versus like those local ads with the Google Maps. So it kind of gets an idea that like you're not necessarily looking for like a physical location in that moment. You're looking for like an actual product you can buy, and it's going to trigger that type of ad.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good, that's what you can do there. And those types of things were really popular at one point. I remember when I was at Google, like there was a lot of businesses that were starting to sell those things online.
Nice. Like, what are the biggest mistakes that you see, like businesses are making with Google Ads? Because I learn a lot through experience of like, okay, here's what I did, here's what didn't work, but also like I learn a lot through the mistakes of other people, like especially like when they tell me about, oh, hey, let me just avoid that entirely. Yeah. So like, what are the biggest mistakes you see from businesses that are getting started with Google Ads or have been in Google Ads for a bit?
Yeah. So I kind of I'll layer it because I have a framework for people when they ask me like, should I do Google Ads or not?
Yeah, we talked about this on the icebreaker call before this. So,
and I think they should think about their business, they should think about their product, and then they think about the marketing part. So, top to bottom, their business, are they making enough money or profit in their mind that they can kind of dedicate some money to Google Ads, right? Like you need to have an idea in your head of like, here's how much I'm going to spend, and I'm very comfortable with spending this amount monthly, just on marketing in general, even. And then also on paid ads, not like this is money I can't afford to lose, but I'm just going to bet it all on Google Ads and hope that it works out, right? Like, hopefully you're not doing that type of ad strategy. That's the first thing, because then you're going to turn it on and the money's going to go like that. It just disappears. And you're like, where are the sales? Didn't happen in the first 2 weeks. And you'll be like, I got to shut this off right away. I was like, you shouldn't have even done that if that was going to be the case. I think the second piece is sometimes I get people coming to me when their business is actually not doing well, hoping that Google Ads is the part that's going to fill the gap.
Help them.
Because it's so immediate. They're like, I don't have time to redo my website, my branding. I don't have time to be like doing SEO and writing blog posts and social media and hoping that people come to me someday. I need people right now. And I know if I run Google Ads, I can get that traffic right now. But I'm like, there's a reason your business is not doing well, whether it's your product's not good enough, it's too expensive, whatever it may be. And Google Ads is not going to solve that problem. So again, we're going to drive people to your website, and then they're going to,
let's say there's somebody out there who fundamentally has a solid business. They're just lacking in leads. Like, let's say a lead comes in, they're able to like quote them quickly. And like if somebody signs on for a job, they can get it through production, and like they've got talented designers. They just don't have enough leads coming in. Is that in this qualification, or does that like
no?
Saying?
I think that's a perfect case for when you should do Google Ads. I'm talking more like, they're servicing customers, and then half their customers are unhappy with how the sign is made, and they leave them a negative review, and they have like terrible reviews about their business. So it's like they're gonna click on your ad, and then maybe before they pull the trigger to make a purchase, they're gonna like check you out a little bit. They're gonna check your reviews and be like, ooh, 2.1, I don't really want to buy from this place. Right? So that's more of the case. The second piece is really like, do you do a good job making signs? If you do good signs, I think it's great. If you're like, I don't know what the issues are with sign shops. I've never actually ordered a sign myself, but if you don't do a good job creating signs, then I think that might be a better problem to solve first.
Yeah, the thing here is that the market is very volatile. Okay. Anybody who comes to you from this podcast or is a sign or printing shop that needs to get leads. Usually that's the demand, right? I mean, I think most of our users, our listeners out there are very educated to the fact that they have to show up when somebody says sign shop near me. If you're just getting started in the industry and you're just spun up a website, then yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But for the most part, it's like, Peter, I need to get to $75,000 in revenue, and currently I'm doing 40. Okay, I'm not hitting those markers. Yeah. How do I do that? I have a good product. I have a ton of customers that do buy from me. But I need more leads. And I need more leads in the area that I profit in, right? Because, like, look, I think it's fair to say that we'll profit more on, say, a custom fabricated sign than we would on, say, help me out here. A banner. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I lost my train of thought there for a minute. But, like, I need to come to you. I'm a sign shop owner. I'm going to come to you, Peter, and I'm going to say, look, man, you seem really cool. You seem very knowledgeable. I'm not too familiar in this space. This is what I do. I do need more instant results. You, in a sense, need to also understand that there are other companies out there that will promise results, which is what I alluded to earlier. That, like, and I think you too as well. Like I forget the phrase that you use, but there's a lot of worldly stuff that gets presented out there to a candidate or to a potential prospect customer. So, with that in mind, like, what is that strategy? Be very. You don't have to be specific, but you could be vague if you'd like. But, you know, like, how do I get gratification working with you? Obviously, you don't want to lead. You don't want me to sign up. You don't want me to start working with you and then 3 months later cancel, which is very common in our space, right? Because of what you said. There needs to be a level of instant performance, right? SEO is the long-term play. Everybody knows that. That's farming. That's farming for potential customers later on. How do we go hunt? How do we hunt for customers today? We need to eat today. We need to eat today. I can eat later by farming, okay? But I got to feed my family today. How do we have that happen?
One of the other things that just in this example you mentioned is, like, focus on the best customers that you're really good at. Like, if you are good at custom signs, we can set it up so you really only show up for, like, people who are looking for custom signs, right? Like, let's not pretend that you are good at banners and maybe they don't have good profit margins. They're not high revenue. Everybody does banners, but you're really good at custom sign shops. Let's do custom signs. And people are going to feel that even the way you talk on the phone, right? I imagine if I was talking to a sign shop that sells custom signs and is really good at that, they'd be asking all the right questions on the phone. You can tell instantly who's an expert at something and who's not. So I think you start there with what you're best at.
Nice. Okay. All right. Now I have one final question here for you.
All right.
How much of what you do relies on information from your client? Now, let me elaborate. Peter, I've been with you for 3 months. I'm paying you X amount of dollars a month. I've gotten 3 leads from you.
Yeah.
This is not working.
This is a conversation you've had before.
Okay. This is not working. You know, I'm going to cancel here and I'm going to go with a company that knows what the fuck they're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, wait a second. That's typically where I think you might have had this happen before, or it's happened a ton of times with my clients, with my sign shop owners that I work with. Okay. Now, how much of this is, well, wait a second, hold on. I don't think you got 3 leads. I think you got 30 leads in the last 3 months. And how much of this is like your customer's negligence of not knowing, and how much of your results are really pegged on their ability to execute. I know you talked about their business, but hey, here's a quick summary of what I'm trying to say. I went to your website, I clicked on your page, I didn't fill out a contact form, but I called you. I saw the number on your website and I called. And now I called and I spoke to the owner and, hey, Brian, how you doing, man? Hey, I want to buy that vehicle wrap I talked to you about, right?
Yeah. We'll work you up a quote and we'll get you we'll have a design and we'll be in your inbox tomorrow.
Thank you so much, dude. You're amazing, and I love the black hat. Yeah, like your sign shop owner does not know that call came from your ad. So how do you attribute that result of such and such a quote to your results, where you could say to your customer, no. That call arrived because they clicked on this and likely found your phone number. Or in a summary question, how much of what you do relies on getting that level of information so that you can prove your worth, prove those results?
To reframe it just a little bit, I think it's just like, what are the factors for success, right? Like, what has to be in place for this to actually work? And like, if you could, like, I would love to hear just like some ballpark numbers on like, okay, here's, we mentioned kind of, hey, we need to be okay with budgeting this much and not have it be like, this is everything that we've got. But like, what are the factors for success? Like, what are the expectations?
Yeah, and just before I kind of elaborate on this, do most of the customers or even leads come in through like a phone call in the sign shop world instead of a lead? Or is it like 50-50, like submitting info or sending an email?
A lot of business is done through email. Like, walk-in traffic has gone down since COVID, obviously. But a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails.
Okay. A lot of phone calls, but like, so for example, for personal injury law firms, it's like 95% phone calls. People just want to talk to the receptionist or the lawyer right away and be like, I slipped. Do I get $1 million? So for like a sign shop, like, is it 80% calls, 50 like leads? Like, what does that look like? Just curiosity for me too. Sign shop Yoda.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely think the phone still rings. I think if you have a very generic form fill on your website that says, give me your name, email address, phone number, and what your comments are, I feel like those do not get filled out as many people may think. I think there's a lot more form fills on conditional logic based forms. Like what are you looking for? What's your business name? Do you need this right now? What's your budget? Like there's a series of those types of forms that are performing well. But the example that I gave you I believe it happens more than 60% of the time, where they clicked on your ad and the ad takes you to some sort of landing page on their website. They see the phone number and they want to speak to somebody.
Yeah.
So cool. 60-40 phone then.
Cool.
Final answer. So lock it in.
Let's do the phone example first, and I think that's the one you really want to know. So I can track when somebody clicked on the phone number on the website. I can tell you on Thursday there were 3 people who clicked on the phone number, and if they were on their phone, it kind of pops up and says, do you want to call this number? And they call, and Google does a good job of telling you, yeah, somebody did make a call. So that's one way. It's very surface level. Obviously, I can't prove it. What if the person gets 5 calls and they're like, one of those 5 calls was actually good and turned into a customer? I don't know if it's one of those 3 clicks or if it was the other 2. There's a tool out there. There's a couple of tools out there. One's called CallRail, another one called Invoca. There's another call tracking software. That, without getting into the technicalities of it, but basically when you click on the phone number on the website, it's digitally going to track and record the whole conversation when the customer is talking on the phone. And the receptionist or the store owner on the other side can actually track that this call came from Google. It sounds like magic, but you could completely track that whole thing. You can listen back to that, call as well. And it's going to tell you if it came from Google, if the person just searched but didn't click on an ad, did they come from social media? It's going to give you all that detail. This was a big problem that a lot of companies still to basically solve. But I will say that I think for a small sign shop owner, this is probably too much work up front before like launching Google Ads, because you have to like implement it on your website. You need to get used to using it. It has a cost as well. Obviously, they're going to charge you based on like how many calls you get, how many minutes you talk, blah, 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 all this stuff. So like, I wouldn't go down that route when you're launching for the first time. The best thing is what in the marketing world they call self-reported attribution, which is that store owner, that receptionist needs to be told, your goal with everybody who calls in is say, how did you hear about us? By the way, we're running some marketing, so we're trying to understand if it's working. And then they say, yeah, I just went online. I looked you up. Said, did you click on an ad? Did you not? No, I don't remember, blah, 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 whatever. It's not perfect, but it's going to give you an idea. And if you want, you could even do that for 2 weeks before you run paid ads and see what people are saying. And then start running paid ads and be like, did we start getting more people saying they clicked on a Google ad? There's a lot of people who have no idea. They don't, the moment that they just get to your website, they don't remember how they even got to you. But I think that would be the way that I would get them to really evaluate whether it's working.
Got it. If we back up to like the factors of success, right? If you had like 5 bullet points, like 10 bullet points, what's the checklist? Like sign shop owner, I think I want to do Google Ads. What do I need to have and to do in order to actually not just light money on fire?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, pick an amount of money you feel really happy with testing with. Like, just like if you were going to print flyers. So step one, pick just an amount of money that you and your mind are going to reframe. This is just always going to be a bit of a marketing investment. There's a bit of experimentation. Marketing are always tests. They're meant to be fun, experimental. Don't be like, I'm betting the whole farm on this working and let's go all in. So start with something that I think is a comfortable amount.
I do 500,000 a year in revenue, and I'm coming to you. You're going to say, hey, we should test with X.
Yeah.
What is X?
What's the profit margin for a company like that, percentage wise?
18
in the teens.
Yeah. Okay.
And this will vary by company.
Yeah. But is this after the owner pays themselves or before?
Chances are the owner's not paying themselves at $500,000. So this is still, we got to get to the first million.
Okay. So let's say they were making, if it was 15%, means they're making 75 grand, means they're making, let's say, 6 grand before tax a month. I say put like $500 a month into it to start. Like nothing that's gonna not let you pay your bills at home. So like $500 a month to start. Focusing on people to get you to call or come to your store, and then I would think backwards from that. So the second piece is what I call like unit economics. How much revenue do you need to make that $500 worth it? What do you think? Again, if we're talking like 15% profit margin, just to break even.
What would you say is the average sale price?
$5,000
of like a.
I would probably want to try and
sign shop.
I would just try and I wouldn't even go that route. I would probably look at maybe just my ROAS, right? So what's my return on ad spend? Is it 5 times? Is it 10 times? Am I doing a $5,000 off of $500 spend? That's 10. That's great.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's the goal right there. I think if you're telling me that teens is profit margin, right? Let's say it was 20%, then you'd need 5x ROAS just to break even, and you'd be like, why am I doing this? So you kind of want like the 10x ROAS. Do you want to spend $500? Am I going to make extra $5,000?
It could be one month. Lead. It could be 2 or 3 $2,000 jobs, right?
Yeah.
And that part I think most people have an understanding of, but is that scalable? Does that mean that if I put $1,000, I'm gonna get $10,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. Now, this brings me to I guess like be like a final question on this topic here is well, you got $500 a month, right? But how do you know that will generate X amount of opportunities? Is there data that you have on your end that says this is the search volume? This is what people are searching for.
I imagine this is somewhere on the checklist.
Yeah, I feel like there's I go, okay, I'm spending $500. Where do we put it? I feel like that needs to come from the professional on your side of the table and say, okay, well, I think maybe $100 of that goes into or maybe half of it goes into the whole sign shop keywords, right?
Yeah.
But what are people searching for that I want to go after, and what's that volume? And then, hey, if you want to get, like, let's backwards math this. If I need to drive revenue from $50,000 to $70,000 a month, I need to generate $20,000 in revenue. Now, if I need to 10x that off of something, right? So 20,000 off of a $2,000 a month budget, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm spending $2,000, how are you carving that up into what campaigns to generate X amount of leads to generate that amount of return?
Yeah, you're doing my math for me. So as part of these unit economics, you get your average revenue, you get your ROAS that you need to know. So you say, off $500, we need to make $5,000 in sales. You say, how many phone calls does it take to, get one sale? What's our average sale? Let's say our average sale, because we're doing custom sign shops or custom signs, would be $2,500. So we need 2 sales, and you'll be like, 1 in 5 people we close. We're really good. Like, when people call us, they want to work with us. So that means I need, 10 leads to close 2 deals, 10 really quality phone calls. And then you think about, well, how many times does somebody come to my website actually decide to give me a call or clicking on an ad? And you could say, like, 1 in 10 times. A lot of people just come and don't do anything. So you're like, I'm going to really
be high.
It'd be much higher, yes.
It would be that number, like 10% would be high, right?
Okay, I see. So let's say I need 20 times more than 10. So I need 200 clicks, right? So now you're talking, out of 200 clicks, $500, and max I can spend $2.50 per click. And that might not be totally realistic. Maybe more like $3, $4. You're muted.
Yeah, you are muted, Pete.
That was funny, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's probably some... I was yelling at myself. I didn't want you to hear me. I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy knows.
See yourself when you're muted. You look funny.
My wife says I look funny every day. It's okay. It doesn't hurt me. All right. So, what I was saying was that there's probably some additional markers to this, right? Like, you need X amount of impressions to generate X amount of clicks, and those clicks have to take some sort of call to action, right? Mm-hmm. Schedule an appointment, make a call, fill out a form, right? So there's 3 layers to this. Yeah. I'm sure that puts you in a very difficult place, but you must have eyes on what's working in the industry to generate those amount of impressions, correct? Because that's where it all starts from. It's how many people view it, how many people are searching and viewing it, and then how do we get them to competitively click on that link, or click on that number, or whatever the case may be. So I'm sure that there are some additional theory that go into all of this. Makes sense.
This is why they pay us the big bucks, right? They get us to solve the big problems that you're saying right here, that it's not that simple. And this is how I look at it. I can set up the Google ads. I can do this sort of stuff. I can put up the ad. I know how to use the platform. It's not that hard. But this is where I was, and we almost kind of worked backwards into this discussion. You only pay for clicks, by the way. So I don't care how many times the ad has to show up, and how many people end up clicking on it, because I only pay when somebody actually clicks on it. That's the good part about that. But then when they come to the website, can we get a larger percentage of people to actually want to give us a call, right? This is where I'm talking about, like, what are you saying on your website that's going to make somebody want to click? Because if we can double that, if we can double the amount of people that are interested in actually giving you a call after they come to your website because you told them whatever, that's huge. That changes the game. And then if we, for example, focus on the type of customers and driving traffic for the type of customers that you're really good at closing, because you're a specialist at that, or you're priced very competitively, or your competitors don't do that in your area, then instead of, like, again, 1 out of 10 leads or calls you close 3 out of 10 or 2 out of 10, that changes that calculation even so much more. So really you're optimizing across every single stage, to really make it work. Because there's only so much I can do with paid ads. There's only so much I can do to change the ad or do other things. But I need the business to also kind of cooperate, right, and work with us to make it work.
Yeah. All right. To finish out this list, like, is there more on the list? You got the unit economics. We're running short on time, so like maybe like speed run through here. I just want to get to like a point where it's like, okay, guys, if you're listening, this is how you succeed with this.
Yeah. Budget, unit economics, sell good products, coming to marketing, have a good website, have good social proof, those reviews, and then ultimately, have a good closing strategy too. To like think about, how do I close people on the call? What is it that gets them to close? And the owner who's been doing it for 20 years, it just comes natural to them. They don't even need to think about it, right? They know what they say. They know when it's a real buyer versus not. He's shaking his head like maybe not. I don't know. But that's the last part. That's the last part, right? How to get them into the store. So those are just the stages of the whole funnel.
And like, are you, like, obviously a lot of that's in your control. A lot of it's not directly. Like, are you like coaching people through this? Is that the difference that Pete, the Yoda, keeps alluding to? Is that like versus these other agencies?
This is what I'm. No. Forget the agency disparity for a moment. Whether you're big or small or boutique or whatever, we have one full-time employee. The part that I need to either communicate to the listeners out there, or I need to get across to you, is that this is so volatile that even if you do a really great job of generating clicks, your services are judged by execution on the owner, on the business's side. And whether they're good at it or not, whether they have a great estimate follow-up game or not, that is something that I don't know how you do what you do and sleep at night. Because I'm be afraid every time the phone rings, it's somebody else saying, this shit's not working. And the reality to it is, it's like, you need to be able to defend yourself with saying, well, hold the phone. Like, I've generated this amount of clicks. These people have landed on your website. This is how many form fills you've got, how many phone calls you've got. How much of this did you sell, sir, ma'am? Like, that to me is the synergy between doing this at a high level and doing this at a very poor, below average level. Is that you need insight into what they're producing so that you can attribute that revenue to your campaign efforts. Yeah. But now, if you can't do that, then, man, I don't know, start doing that.
This is qualification.
Listen, it's all about expectation setting and assigning the roles and everything that they need to do as well, right from conversation one. And that's actually what gets somebody to want to work with me, because, and frankly, I work month to month. Our team works month to month. So we are held accountable, and I've worked with teams for over 2 years in some cases, over 10 months, over a year. They keep working with us because of the fact that we make it very clear, like, you have to close this. And I can't listen to a sign shop's phone call that he's going to get or she's going to get, like, in the store. But, when I work with like software companies or some of those and I can actually jump on the call, I have done that in the past, especially with my sales background, and was like, you didn't ask them for a next step at all. You're just like, yeah, let us know. By the way, it's $30,000. And it's like, really, you think that have you thought about maybe just kind of scheduling that next call with them right away? And he's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And sometimes it is that basic, or be like, they're this type of company. Do you think you have a case study that you can share with them that matches what type of company they are? They're like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm like, I think that will be more compelling for them as to why they're going to want to close with you. So I do that type of, coaching too, that I think is just really obvious to help them close. But again, I make it a big deal. So let's say I was working with a sign shop owner. I'd be like, Bill, here's how I've set up the ad. Let's look at this together. Do you like it? Do you agree that this looks like a really good ad and I can show them? And they're like, yeah, this sounds fantastic. These are the keywords that we're showing up for. I'd be like, do you think that this is relevant? Like, I'm not showing up on like, I want to buy shoes and somebody clicked on your ad. Like, people said sign shop near me. I can even show you what zip codes they're in, what boroughs or counties they're in. They're people from your area. So we know we're going after the right people. Then they came to your website. I can show you how many people made a call. And he'd be like, that's amazing. Cool. Okay. How many times have you asked if that person actually came from a Google ad or marketing? They'd be like, oh, I need to do that. I'd be like, cool. So when you tell me that you're not getting anything from Google ads, I'm going to say, I've done my job and you haven't done yours. And they're like, fair. So I walk them through the process. It's transparent. I look at all the angles and say, here's your job. And if you do that part and we're still not closing, then we can talk about what might be wrong. But I keep them accountable. I keep them part of it. And that's what they want too.
Nice. Yeah. That's good to hear.
You talk a little bit about like how to reach out and like, if anybody's interested, like I know signage is potentially like a new industry.
That signs. No, I got a sign right there.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of cut off in my screen, and it probably will be. It'll be half cut off in the episode by the time we do editing. But So if somebody's interested, if you're listening to this and you're an owner and you are interested in like getting some advice and exploring whether working with Peter and Profit Mill is a good idea or not, Peter, how do they do that?
I think they can go to profitmill.io. So not .com, I couldn't get that. Maybe someday. But profitmill.io and big yellow button that says get in touch or free Google Ads audit. And you can just go to there, set up a time with me. You can actually pick a time. I think that's the best way, probably the most common way that everyone in the sign shop industry is going to find me. Or otherwise, if you want, you can go on LinkedIn and search my name, Peter Guba. Connect with me there. And we can have a chat about essentially this type of exploratory chat, but in a lot more detail about their specific business and who their customers are and who they're trying to go after and whether it makes sense for them or not.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is like, what does that chat look like? But you just dove into some of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is like we work month to month. There's a lot of work that's involved in really getting to know the customer, because everybody's customers are different and their situations are different, and a lot that's required with an initial setup. A lot of agencies will charge like an upfront fee because of that, because they'll just say, I actually have a lot of upfront work, so I just kind of want to charge an upfront fee to get paid for it, no matter what happens down the road. We don't do that. Our costs are upfronted, and then our profit margin kind of spreads out if people, stick with us for some time. So we like that type of pressure. We like being held accountable because it keeps us on our toes, and delivering. And we meet with our clients regularly. We're available. So I will be where I'm trying to get to is I will be very honest in my evaluation on whether I think there's a chance that this will work or not. If there's no chance, I regularly tell people, don't do this, at least not with me. Right? I don't think it's going to work for you. And then if it is, it's always a test. 50% of the time, it works every time.
We got an Anchorman fan. I love it. Pete, any parting shots from Yoda before we wrap this one up, man?
Yeah, I want to say thank you for jumping on here with us, talking shop a little bit. There are definitely a lot of sign shop owners out there that need help in this space. There are definitely a lot of sign shop owners looking to drive up their revenue, get more leads, get more traction in the digital sense. One thing that we really didn't get a chance to talk about, and maybe we can jump on this offline, or maybe we'll have you back on here and talk a little bit about it. But how do you continue to follow the customer around, right? How do we keep the brand in front of them so that even if they landed on your website, that they're continually seeing that brand across multiple mediums? And that's a big piece to this puzzle too, to bring that person back and say, hey, don't go anywhere. Come on back. We want to see you. So that's a big deal to this. And look, you're in an industry that is heavily saturated. Okay. And there's a lot of dumpster fires out there. There's a lot of horror stories, but there's also a lot of success stories, and Google's not going anywhere. I was at Google's headquarters back in March, and it was funny because I was in Austin, Texas at their headquarters down there. Yeah. And one thing that was really apparent is the amount of people that show up to complain to Google. And and they just sit there and they just take it Thank you for that feedback. Would you like some lunch from our cafeteria?
Make everything okay.
We have an amazing spread. We have an amazing spread. Yeah. It's hey, look, I just wanted to say you have to have a strong head to do what you do. And you have to make a name for yourself by providing results. And everybody in this world, the sign shop, print shop world, knows that. So I just wanted to say good luck to you, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was great to be on here.
Hey, Peter, I appreciate it, man. Hey, we've had good conversations. Thanks again for being on the show. I hope we've provided some value. Again, if you guys want to check it out, it's profitmill.io. Take a look, get in touch. Peter seems like he'll shoot you straight.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Good.
All right. And that's it for this episode of the Better Sign Shop podcast. If you're interested in being a guest, hit us up on the website, bettersignshop.com. Is it bettersignshop.com? Yeah, it is. Bettersignshop.com. I thought it was IO for a minute. It's not. It's .com. All right. That's it. We'll catch you on the next episode.
If you liked this episode, make sure you hit subscribe to get all the latest episodes. And check out our website, bettersignshop.com. Get free resources and helpful tools on growing your shop. Thanks for listening.